to order the regular meeting of the Eastpointe City Council on Tuesday, May 15th at 7 p.m. Please rise for the invocation given by Councilwoman Sarah Lucido and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, this past weekend we recognized our mothers and all that they have done for us. Later this month, we will honor those who have died in service to our nation. Next month, we will congratulate our high school seniors as they take the next big steps in their lives. As we express our gratitude for these many blessings you have given us, we ask you, please watch over those who gave us life and nurtured us. Please let us never forget the ultimate sacrifice so many gave so we could have all the freedoms we enjoy. Please guide the youth of today as they are the future of tomorrow. And please help us all to make our city, state, and country the best they can be. It is in your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Here.
Councilmember Lucido?
Here.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Here.
Councilmember Owens?
Here.
Mayor Pixley?
Here. Our next item is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as is unless somebody wants to add something?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. That moves us into the first hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard at this time? Please, sir.
My name is Wayne Winters. I live on Donald Street. I'm 72 years old. I've lived in this city my whole life. I graduated from East Detroit High School. My children graduated from East Detroit High School. I had one grandchild graduate from East Detroit High School. I've been in my residence for 46 years, be 47 come July. I've been to this council numerous times about the flop house for the dope addicts on my street. Now I have a letter, correspondence, Mr. Albright has sent to the people who own this place in Grand Blanc, and we get no response. I have the police reports from the police officers being sent over there. On the incident on 4/7, this was suspicious circumstances. The officer writes, the named male, who wasn't there when the officer showed up, was gone to move into the house, was masturbating in the room, and he wouldn't leave. So they had to call the police to escort the man out. Of course, he left before the police came because they didn't want to go to jail. The next one was on 4/20/18, drug overdose. The officer writes, upon arriving, I spoke to the person reporting the overdose, who stated that his girlfriend, name blanked out, is known a heroin user and has overdosed on heroin, was lying on the floor, unconscious and not breathing. Fire department was called, transported to St. John's Hospital for treatment. And this is what's been going on in our neighborhood, and I can't get no response to it. Now, the letter that Mr. Albright has written to these people states, where is it? The subject property is located in an R1, one-family residential zoned area. Now they've got, I don't know, they're using it for a multi-complex home. I've been to the building department. They have it listed as a multi-family home, which doesn't correspond with the correspondence I have here. So it looks like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, and you can't get no one to do anything about this. I keep hearing all this propaganda about we want to take care of the neighborhoods, we want to do something for the neighborhoods, and this is what we get. This is what our neighborhoods are. This is what our neighborhoods are becoming. The other day, they're out back smoking dope. I'm sure it was marijuana, I'm not sure. But when they get done, the girl goes and gets in her car, leaves. Disregard for how stoned she was, who cares? It's not her kid she may run over. Maybe one of your kids she runs over. But who cares? Who cares about our neighborhoods? Doesn't seem like anyone in the Taj Mahal down here cares, because we're not getting no response to it. This isn't the first time I've been down here complaining about this. I hope it's the last, though, because if it's not, Mr. Albright writes, let's see what he wrote. Upon information and belief, the subject property has been attempted to be used for multifamily purposes. Such use is prohibited by law. If the property is used for anything other than permitted, the owner and agent receives a citation and required to appear in 38th District Court. Apparently that's not happening. 2 correspondents. Neither one of them have been answered, that as far as I can find out. Maybe they're not telling me everything. How do I know? Well, if you go over here to building department, you get no answers. Just get blown off. It's the way it works around here. Like I said, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. I wish somebody would take an interest in our neighborhoods, kind of like Detroit, you know, build up the city. Gilbert can spend all the money on the city, but what about the neighborhoods? Nobody cares. We're getting the same response here. Nobody cares. Thank you for your time.
So, sir, we can't respond to you right now, but I'm sure council will respond to you during our
This
time.
isn't the first time I've been down here.
I understand, but some steps have been taken since you were here last time. So we can respond, so please wait.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Creech?
Madam Mayor, Council, Harvey Creech, resident of East Detroit, close to 50. The last time I was in here, I know, Madam Mayor, you weren't here, but I tell you, I like the response in this paper. It reads, speaking on social equity, Cotton said, it is not fairness, it is more about thinking what is necessary and appropriate for the best possible outcome for the citizens. This gentleman right here, that's exactly. It says, for the citizens. And what I like about it, a little bit farther down here, it says, while Cotton is the interim city manager, he said the city must also do its part of using its management structure, identifying if something didn't meet expectations, should he have done something earlier on, appropriately and often as needed. This is what I've talked about, I think, for many, many times since I've been up here. Maintenance and as often as needed. The other day, I appreciate it. There was a street sweeper come down my street. My wife asked me what it was. She was making a joke out of it, too. She hadn't seen one in so long. And the worst part about it is our streets are deteriorating so bad. If you get out there and you look at them, it doesn't even look like you come down the street. For every little hole that you see in the street, the gravel and the grit is built up so bad in it, the first time it rains, it runs right back to the gutters. Really a typical example, drive down Gratiot. I don't know if that's county or exactly who maintains it. Look at the curbs out there. It comes out a foot for the grit and the grime and the gravel. Every bit of that's going down our sewers. We talk about infrastructure, but what are we doing about it? This gentleman says the same thing about it. You can talk all day long until we do something about it, and it says as often as needed. For a year, we had a street sweeper. First of all, the gentleman that drove it retired. Second of all, the other guy that was there, he was on medical, so it sat in the building. Is this the way we run our city?
You have 30 seconds.
And as I say, thank you, Madam Mayor, that, you know, a lot of things we can do, but it doesn't seem what you want to do about it. And I think I got the phone call about seed and hill over in Spindler. I guess all the grass seed run off of it the first time. They're going to try it again. Please do, you know, I said before, too, if you spike it, put seed on it, put dirt on it, put a web on top of it, it'll be there next year and grass will grow. You keep doing it like they did the first time, we're gonna spend some more money usually. Thank you, Councilman Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Anyone else wish to be heard? Mr. Lubeck.
Jeff Lubeck, Eastpointe resident. I see on the agenda tonight there's a discussion on the GFL contract. Based on what I read online, it sounds like it's already a done deal and that contract's been renewed. That doesn't make me happy considering the performance that has been lacking in my neighborhood the last several weeks. On our trash pickup day, which is Wednesday, they pick up the trash. They might pick up the recyclables. They might pick up some of the recyclables, and they might pick up the yard waste. But it's been very inconsistent. And I find it interesting that I read this, it says the contract's renewed for 5 years, and their performance has gone right down the toilet.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the first hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of May 1st, 2018.
Madam Mayor, I'll motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 1st, 2018.
We have support? Support. Any corrections? Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
We have no scheduled hearings. We have one item under unfinished business, and that's the second reading and adoption of ordinance 1152, amendment to Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 5, Boards and Commissions, which would create a Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission. Do we have a motion, please?
Sure. Madam Mayor, I'll motion to give second reading to and adopt ordinance number 1152, which amends Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 5, Boards and Commissions, the codified ordinances of the City of Eastpointe, add a new Division 9, Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission.
Support. Move and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Move on to reports from administration, and we'll start with our Assistant City Manager, Mr.
Ultimus,
Altimus.
I think. Depends on the day, I think.
Don't
Just,
know who's going to be sitting here.
oh, you know, if we keep rotating, keeps everybody wondering. Just a couple reminders. Open Yard Day is this Saturday, so if you need to get rid of a whole bunch of junk, DPW on 10 Mile, take it down there. It's our once a year, so you can do that. We also have on Saturday the electronic recycling too here at City Hall. We didn't want to mix the two in the same place. So if you have some old TVs or computers or whatever you need to get rid of, the company will be here on Saturday to do that. Also, just to let council know, I did not get the search proposals for the manager until late Friday. I have been going through them, and I will have them in a packet for you for your Friday packet. So unfortunately, I had 4 people committing that they were going to send me something, and 3 of them came in Friday afternoon. So I didn't want to try to hurry up. You wouldn't have had a chance to look at them. So I'll put the packets together. I'll put some highlights of each one. And they're almost identical in the way they approach things, I think you'll see. So I'll have that ready to go. Outside of that,
Any questions or comments for Mr. Altimus?
I just have a comment. Coming off the heels of something Mr. Creech said, I think it is about time that we schedule reviews coming up soon. I don't know if I'm happy to do them again this year, like prepare the outlines if council wants to send me anything they want to add or something like that, so we can kind of get the ball rolling. Maybe when Ryan Cotton's here, we can actually schedule a good date for Mr. Albright. And I don't think one for Mr. Cotton would be necessary, but
It was actually going to be my 4th item for discussion. Ask for a date for that this evening.
Well, we might be able to discuss the date now, because we're just gonna do Mr. Albright. We really only need him there for it.
I believe last year we did it mid-June.
Last year, I think it was back in early part of May. It was earlier.
Yeah, I think it was May.
It was earlier.
What if we do it in closed session after our next meeting, June 5th
June
meeting?
5th?
That's fine.
Works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me. Mr. Altemus, I'm really concerned about the first man that came forward and about the neighborhood. And I was going to ask some questions to Mr. Albright as well. But this was becoming a really increasing problem, and I think he's only talking about one place, and this is significant to him personally in that neighborhood. But I think it's happening in other parts of the city too. So I'm real concerned that they can move a group of people, and whether you're gonna call it a quarter house or a halfway house or whatever, into a house that's been designated as a residence. So I hope that we're gonna follow up on that and get this man some answers about how we can better deal with situations that are coming up like this.
City administration is in the process of reviewing that. The 2 letters that I did send out, I did not receive a response to either of those letters. And so when Mr. Cotton returns and is back here at City Hall, I anticipate we will have a meeting with both him and Ms. Van Haren when she returns as well.
Because these situations that he has with all those different things from the police reports, that's something I don't think that any resident should have to face on a continual basis like he has.
I agree.
And I'm sure all our council, if this was in our neighborhood, we would be having a fit and a half as well. So I'd like to be sure that we address his problems. All right. Anything else? All right, let's go on to the finance director. Mr. Blum?
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. I have nothing extra to report tonight other than agendas and closed session topics, but if there's any questions.
I don't have anything. All right, and let's go on to our city attorney, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. At the last meeting, there was a discussion regarding the process that the city of St. Clair Shores uses for its tax reversion properties. I did speak with the Community Services Director, Chris Reyes, and he informed me that the City Council in St. Clair Shores has set up an ad hoc committee consisting of 2 City Council members, the City Manager, and also the Community Services Director, and they review all of the properties that are acquired from the county through tax reversion, and then they make a decision as to what should be done with those properties, whether the house should be demoed or whether it should be rehabilitated or sold as is. And if they're to be renovated, then they make a recommendation. The council then selects a contractor to conduct the renovations after bids go out. And then once the renovations are completed, then that property is sold by one of the city-approved realtors that they have. So that's the process that they do use. If there are additional questions or any other inquiries you would like me to make of the City of St. Clair Shores program, they do not have any written policies or procedures. I did ask for a copy of that, and they do not have anything like that. They just simply have this ad hoc committee that they utilize.
Council, I was very impressed when I attended that conference and Mr. Reyes did his presentation about some of the homes that they had bought on tax reversals and the improvements that they'd made. And I think that maybe you might be as impressed to see what he did, and it might be something that we could utilize, although the number of tax reversions are decreasing. But some of the things that they've done is almost like a habitat idea where you improve one house in one neighborhood and it really stimulates the whole neighborhood. So his presentation was short. I think that maybe we could do it as a presentation before council if he would be willing to do that.
I mean, it's definitely something I'd be interested in starting to do. I mean, I think with having less houses, it'll actually make it easier to actually implement a program like this. When we were getting a lot before, I think it would have been really difficult to have all these houses under renovation and the cost of the city at one time to pay for them. But yeah, I would definitely be interested in that.
Some of the things are very simple, like most of the people that are buying homes are doing, like renovating the kitchen and so forth. But he was very creative in some of the facade improvements. And I was very impressed with that and the changes that it took place in the neighborhood and the values of the neighborhood. So that was something that I was interested in.
And that was Mr. Ray's that you
Yes.
spoke to?
Mhm. He's also an architect. We used to have
Yes.
an architect on staff, but some of the things that he did were pretty simple, but really made an impression, improving the look of the house and the neighborhood as well.
Also, I was just gonna say, I know, since they don't have any formal, like, committee or anything, maybe if they have a year where the project was really successful, seeing how they did their RFP would help our administration know how to put something like that together.
Sure. Would the council then like me to extend an invitation to Mr. Ray's to speak at a future council meeting?
He could shorten his talk, I think, to maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, and I think you would all appreciate seeing what he's done.
I will contact Mr. Ray's tomorrow.
I think Mr. Cotton has some information, he didn't get to send it to us, that I asked for about how to buy those homes and start a program to help new home buyers buy them instead of these companies coming to Eastpointe, not taking care of the houses and having anybody live in these houses. It will reduce the problems that this man is having. You can't, people buy houses, rent them out, then there end up being drug houses, or we can't control that because it's already bought. But I believe if we invest in the community by selling it to new home buyers, millennials are buying a lot of houses, young families. He said he's gonna have that information, so he'll probably give that to us soon, so that we, don't spend all this money and then get all these companies that live in California buying up 4 or 5 houses and renting them out for profit. We have people that's investing and hopefully living here for 20-plus years. So I'm waiting on that information. I just emailed him again today, so he should have it to us sooner than later. And then, of course, forward it to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, I also, I have a tentative telephone conference scheduled with Mr. Tomlinson, who is the attorney for the city of Roseville, regarding that topic that has come up by one of the residents regarding the 5th member and Rare. And so I have a couple of questions for myself, so I intend on speaking to Mr. Tomlinson on Thursday regarding that issue, and I will report back to council. And finally, Mr. Marucci and I met last week to review the Parks and Recreation Ordinance, and we have a draft that I'm just putting in the finishing touches on, and I can either circulate that draft prior to the first meeting in June, or I can ask that it be listed as an agenda item for the council to look at and make any revisions, whatever the council prefers.
I think an agenda item would be fine. I don't foresee a ton of changes on whatever you propose.
I would like to be sure that Mr. Cotton is back when we discuss that again, so he's here from the very beginning of the reestablishment of
Will
that.
Mr. Cotton be back for the first meeting in June? He will?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And my 4th item, Madam Mayor, was to request scheduling a city attorney evaluation, but it's already been scheduled. So
Sure.
happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Let's move on to new business, and the first item is the bid award for the water and sewer service line replacements. Do we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I motion to award the bid to J.J. Mish, Inc. of Roseville, Michigan, in the amount set forth in the bid of May 1, 2018 for the water and sewer service line repairs, replacements, and authorize the interim city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this bid award.
Support.
Moved and supported.
And one quick question. So are we, I looked at the info on Mitten, is this 1 year then? Well, it said 1 year, but renewals up to 3. Is that coming back to us each year then?
Yes,
Was the plan then?
yes.
Okay.
Does it have the cost for the whole project?
Well, these are the way this one is set up, it's based on unit price only. It doesn't have a total cost because it's an what it is when they go out and fix residents' laterals, each lateral is separate. So they base it on the unit cost and then give them the cost for that project. That's why it's kind of difficult to list it on the agenda, is how it's breaking down that way.
Has the $4 a month then that we charge seems like a good rate then, now that we've done it for quite a few years?
It probably should be increased a little bit when we talk fee schedules later in the year. That'll be addressed. One thing I do want to point out is we made 3 changes from the prior contract based on experience. One is we're now requiring that for a backyard lateral, the contractor puts down plywood in the backyard and on the driveway. What was happening is they would go in with their equipment, do the work, and then they do the restoration. Well, they had ruts all over the backyard from their equipment, so the restoration was costing a lot more than it should have. We saw this work with one of the sewer lining programs where they basically piled the dirt on the plywood, did their work, put the dirt back, left, and you never knew they were there. So that should actually help reduce the cost that we've been incurring on the restoration side. The other change is there's now a requirement that once the project or the address has been assigned, the contractor has 30 days to get it done. What was happening is let's say they were cherry picking what work they wanted to do, what time of year. And especially in the winter, the backyard laterals with the frozen ground was something that was delayed, and that left the homeowners waiting for the fixes. So it is now a mandatory 30 days max. And the other item was that we ran into some trouble where when they were going into the backyards, they would occasionally break a driveway or something, or at least the homeowner would claim it was broke. And so it's now required that they have complete documentation, photographic documentation of a before and after, to ensure that if it is broke, the contractor is responsible for fixing it. Or if they broke it, they would fix it. If it was previously broke, it's still the homeowner's problem, as it should have been. So those were the 3 changes we learned through experience in the last contract.
And all of those have been included in the bid package.
They were all in the bid award, or the bid specs.
Yes.
Yes.
And do we still need a separate contract, when they do work in the front and there's cement that needs to be replaced after patching, is that gonna be a separate contract there?
That's part of our miscellaneous street contract we have with Italia.
Okay.
Anything further? All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Our next item is the special event application for the Memorial Day Parade. Do we have a motion, please?
Should we have a discussion about this first?
Yes. Would you like to start it?
Well, as we previously spoke a little bit, this year, the Knights of Columbus was unable to do the raffle they normally do to raise the money for the parade. So we had previously discussed about the city picking up the $5,606.24 cost for police and for public works for the parade. So I guess that's something we need to decide today, if the city is willing to come up with the funds, so we can still put the parade on. The Knights would still supply the insurance, and I believe that they work with the Oddfellows Hall and doing the picnic after, so they'd still be covering those events.
Correct. And I believe the insurance itself was $500, and they paid for the application as well. So those things are some of the most expensive items. It was really felt that this is our one major community event, and that the city is a little bit better off financially, and this might well be something that it's like Christmas and Santa Claus and what we do, that this might be something that the city can do for its residents.
Are we using any reserve officers for this event?
I'm sorry?
We are? Okay. Now, how does that fit into the cost? Because I know you got police doesn't
That
do a
would-
reserve officer.
Probably was all determined based on the breakdown of how many officers were going to be used during the parade.
Is the breakdown in here?
But it's probably what they provided us.
It's right
Did they give it?
under financial impact.
The cost for the officers is $4,500 for all of them that are going to be necessary for the time of the parade. That includes the reserve officers and the regular officers that are going to be necessary.
Okay. The reason I ask is because the reserve officers get paid differently than the regular police
Yes,
officers.
yeah, so that would-
I want the breakdown on how much are we really paying?
Right, the total cost would be $4,500 for the police department, and then $1,106 for public works.
And we also have our regular patrol officers on Gratiot, so.
Which funds, if the city's paying for it, would that come out of? Would it just be police pays for the police and public works?
Right. Because the special events is only for the reimbursable events. So if they're not paying, we would just keep it in the regular.
I believe we already have funds in special events, do we not?
There's a budget for it, yeah.
Well, maybe if we decide to do it this year, is that something we could put forward in the special events for the next year's budget then?
Yeah. Well, we actually already budget for the events. It's
Okay.
just, there'd be a reduction in revenues.
Okay, I see.
Because I thought most of what came from the DDA, since part of this is right.
Pardon me?
And part of it is DDA, right?
No,
Okay.
it's nothing to do with the DDA.
Actually, the only building out of the DDA is this building that's even in the
Yeah.
parade. The rest of it's outside the DDA area.
Oh, is it? Okay.
What about the fundraiser that was already held then for?
That's what they're using to pay for the insurance and
Okay.
put on the picnic afterwards.
All right.
How much did they raise? You know?
I believe it was approximately like $700.
$750, right?
Okay. That was a nice event. Maybe we should do that next year. Sarah, that was
Yeah.
nice.
But this also provides for a community picnic afterwards, and last year was the second year we had the community picnic, and we really did have an increased number of people. This year, Senator Stabenow is coming. This will be the first time in 10 years that she's coming to Eastpointe, so she's quite excited that she's going to be here, so we're hoping that we get a lot of people come out for the parade. I think it's going to be really pretty good, so working on it. We have a little bit more community involvement this year also. Genesis, the new Chevrolet dealer, is providing a car for the Grand Marshal. And the Grand Marshal is somebody from the VFW post that's done a great deal of work. So I think the parade's going to turn out to be really pretty nice. We have some stragglers coming from St. Clair Shores. I hate to say that, but you know, the St. Clair Shores parade gets longer and longer, and we like it longer and longer because we get more people coming over here from there. So.
Yeah.
All right, so I think the way that we could do this is to eliminate just the Knights of Columbus paying the full cost.
Just take out that sentence.
Just take out that one sentence, right? So can we get a motion to that effect?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the special event application for the Knights of Columbus Memorial Day Parade for Monday, May 28, 2018, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., with the condition that they submit to the city a general liability insurance certificate naming the city of Eastpointe as an additional insured on the policy for the event, and all other organizations participating must sign hold harmless agreements with the city.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. The next item is a special event application for Love Life Summer Fun Community Carnival. And I saw Pastor Lancaster here if you have any questions.
Hiding in the back.
Hiding. So would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. Well, first of all, to Mayor Pixley, to the council, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be here. Last year, July 7th through the 9th, we did have a carnival out on our property in Topher, and it was a success. Thank you for approving that. And we're here, make it real brief, we're here this year to have another carnival. We did have good participation from our community. We also had our police department involved, which was really good. We also had our own security, and we used the reserve police officers. So we're planning on and putting steps in place right now to secure those same kind of security measures to make sure, to ensure that's going to be a success again. So we're asking for your approval.
Any questions for Reverend Lancaster?
No?
Is it the same carnival company as last year?
Yes, Wade Carnival. Yeah.
That's all.
Well, I would like to say thank you for bringing that, you know, the concept to Eastpointe, giving the community something to do, letting neighbors be able to meet each other. So I want to say thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So can we get a motion, please?
I motion to approve the request from Love Life Family Christian Center to conduct a summer fun community carnival on the grounds of the church on Friday, July 6, 2018, from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Saturday, July 7, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Sunday, July 8, 2018, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., with the following conditions. 1, provide a copy of their permit showing compliance with the state of Michigan licensing requirements. 2, the church must sign a hold harmless agreement with the city. And 3, the church must provide a certificate of insurance indemnifying the city for a minimum of $2 million.
I'll support that.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Owens,
Support, yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido.
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Mayor Pixley.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for trusting us. Thank you.
Item D is the adoption of resolution number 1860, traffic control order number 2018-1.
Madam Mayor, I motion to adopt resolution number 1860, which approves traffic control order number 2018-01, ordering the installation of 2-hour parking, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. signs in the municipal parking lot for the 5 westernmost parking spaces in the center area immediately north of Oak Street and west of the Eastpointe Municipal Library.
Support.
This is
I have a-
exactly what we already have done, now just making it permanent.
Yeah, this is, just makes it permanent.
I was just wondering, because it's already so crowded there, and people have, court and stuff, so if you're sitting in there waiting, 2 hours probably might not be.
This is the one that's between, the parking area between the Memorial Library and the furniture store.
Oh, that's over there, okay.
Just before you go across the street to the post office.
Okay.
Just in that area, just to kind of keep it flowing.
Okay, thank you.
So we got.
Motion and second.
Support. All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Item E is to schedule the public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2018-19 budget. Can we have a motion, please?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2018-19 budget for Tuesday, June 5th, 2018 at 7 p.m. pursuant to Chapter 12, Section 7 of the Eastpointe City Charter, and direct the Deputy City Clerk to publish all required notices of the public hearing.
Support?
Who support it? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Our next item is the schedule of, is the installation of the disc golf course at Spindler Park. And Mr. Lipinski is here if we have any questions.
We saw that alter.
Would you like to give an overview?
Sure, just a brief overview. First of all, thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to have this on the agenda. The concept of a disc golf park being installed at Spindler Park has been discussed for a few years now. As a recreation authority, we'd like to offer to purchase the baskets and assist with the installation of the baskets, the tee boxes. There would be 12 baskets. I believe you received a layout of the potential course. I have with me here Mr. Justin Nellis, who is with a local disc golf group. They had a tournament in March with some portable baskets, just to kind of get a concept or an idea how the layout would work, provide some safety measures, and I'll let him speak to that effect, how that tournament went.
Hi, I'm Justin Nellis, Eastpointe resident of 7 years, and disc golf on the east side of the state. Oh, I'm sorry, let me introduce Uncle Paul as well. This is Uncle Paul Bria, and yeah, he's here also in support. So we have Bryce Park that is at 8 Mile, and it's in St. Clair Shores Park with disc golf as well. Other than that, you have the west side, Firefighters Park. Royal Oak has 2 parks. Belle Isle, there was a park. So I think that possibly the east side can bring more disc golfers to this side if we implement this park. It's going to be a lot more challenging than Bryce. Bryce is kind of looked at as a practice course. So we put this tournament on, and we had about 80 registrants, maxed out to where the amount of people that we could fit on a tee pad to work the flow of the course. And I feel it worked out really well. Very safe shots considering playgrounds, picnicking areas, possibly having to move some picnic tables now just because things are being pulled into areas that we would use as fairways, but we're still designating a lot of areas just for regular park activity. A lot of the point that reaches towards 9 Mile, where there's no trail or anything, it's kind of unused. There would be 2 holes as well to where they would play there and back. It's a good thing. In the winter, it brings activity towards the park. It can kind of bring disc golf clubs hold, like tonight is it's called the Eastside Ace Run League at Bryce Park. And that draws about 50 guys that come out, and it's maybe about a 3-hour league, and it's a random doubles thing, so they get together, and it's kind of like a tradition, you know. And then maybe a Wednesday you're at Stony Creek or Riverbends Park, and you're playing these other areas. But I think disc golf's a really good thing. I think it's good for the community. It's good for kids. It's good for people that are looking for a new hobby. It's great for families. Anyone can really play, you know. You can throw the disc, roll the disc. As long as you're going towards the basket and being able to drop it in the end, you're playing disc golf. So it's a good thing. If you have any questions.
I had 1 or 2 just related to the course. Number 10 on the map looks almost like it is directly behind one of those houses that are over there on Beaconsfield. Is there a fence there, or is that just right next to the fence?
So number 10 would play off of the actual walking path.
Okay.
Utilizing the walking path as the tee pad. So one won't need to be installed, and I guess it would just be within the etiquette.
I just wanted to be sure that it doesn't impinge on the backyard of somebody's house right there.
No, it's property of the city.
Okay.
Where you see the number is where they're throwing from, not where they're throwing to.
Okay.
When they did it.
And then the others that are on the west side, 17, 7, 18, 20, and so forth, are those on the sledding hill?
Yes, so we have an option to use, the word escapes me right now. They are sleeves where you can remove a basket. So we can go down to an 18-hole layout during peak seasons of picnicking. We can move baskets, we can pull baskets, and then towards winter, when the park is in less use, there's no soccer, we can open up more holes in areas, and then we can pull them from the sledding hill as well. So keeping the flow of the course and also safety for high traffic areas.
I'm sorry. Yeah, my main concern, I believe would be number 5, because it looks like the post would be right in front of the sledding hill.
Yes,
So that would be the only one that I would be like really concerned about, because when you talk about peak season, I live across the street from the sledding hill. Kids ride their bikes down that hill every day of the week. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're not riding their bikes, then they're taking their sleds down there. So if there was ever a post there, I would be concerned of it being a danger of them crashing into the pole. So that would be my only one, because they do ride, we can't prevent them from doing that.
No,
So,
and absolutely, yeah. So the way to work around that is you would create a plateau, maybe with railroad tie size, and then you would elevate the basket to where you can create a barrier around that with hay bales, things of that nature, to where it has more of an element to where you're not, if you were to crash into something, it would be the bale or the actual edge rather than being the pin in that respect. So anything on the hill would probably have a plateau and also a removable sleeve.
Well, is that one where it was for your tournament in March?
Yes, so that one would be down the hill, and then the hill has the cross to where it would slow any sled down. It would kind of be towards the back of that.
I thought it was on the, well, because I was there when you had your tournament, actually. I didn't know what was going on, but I was like, what are all these people doing? It was great, and Monique and I were both there, which was awesome. I'm like, there were 70 people for sure, like you said, easily. I thought that one was on, like, it wasn't actually on, like, the hill part, the part where you walk up or something. I thought kind of like, it's not even on the main part of the hill, is it? If I remember from what I saw.
You have 5 going directly down the hill. So 4 would go from the corner of the church parking lot area, and then that would go towards the edge of the hill, creating an out of bounds. So that would be kind of hanging right on the edge as well. Then you would walk around and go on top of the hill and throw down. So
Right.
that would be where the hill goes down, up, and then almost creates another hill going back.
Right, yeah.
It would be towards the back there. So
I'm
if
just saying the
there was
pole's
some-
not in the middle of the part where you slide down the hill, right, is what I'm saying. That's what I
But
thought.
they use the little hill too, is what I'm saying. I mean, there's kids that ride their bikes over the little hill also, which I understand.
No, but
that.
it's not on not that one either. It's like on the side where you would just like walk up it. Not a
don't-
part where,
I don't think so. It looks like
You
it's
know, right?
directly in the
At the
center of
base
the
of the
parking
hill, it's
lot.
not actually, yeah.
I wish I had a picture.
So that there, so you
There's
go
like the big hill, and then there's like the little hill, and you're saying it's on the back side of the little hill. So that's,
towards the back of that. the side
right,
of the-
but that's what I'm saying. I mean, they technically ride their bikes on both of those hills. I mean, it's not like they just use
Oh,
the big hill.
yeah, I mean, there's definitely some ways that we can discuss to make them the most safe.
Yeah, even if, I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
I don't know if
looking
there'd
at
be
a
a way to
different one than
even
you're talking
move
about,
that,
that's why.
like, just more to one side, so it's not like right in the middle. I mean, right now, it looks like it's like right in the middle.
Absolutely.
Keep safety in mind for everything.
Right.
Is there any way you can get like some, I guess, some fake ones or something like that, and we can come out and see where they actually located? Because the map is good, but to actually have them, out there and we can actually see, as a test.
Absolutely. We'd love to walk the park and we can set up. We have portable baskets.
Put those out there and we can actually walk and see and write down our notes. Because, I mean, we can see it from here, but actually going out there and seeing where they're located and marking it, and maybe you can say this is number 1. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think that would be awesome if you guys can do that.
Yeah, and you guys put a team together, and you'll play the Eastpointe City Council then.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
And one more quick note too, for like, I think it's number 8, that goes into like the little tree section here. And not that I'm opposed to the location of that,
So-
but just so you know, that basket right there, the park is always flooded right there. I mean, it's almost always flooded, so just a heads up, you might want to go there and check that out before you install that.
Water
Way
hazard.
behind
Yes.
the tree, and there actually was that concern that was ice during the tournament.
Yes, there's floods so just for your own, I mean, the location's fine in my opinion, but I'm not a disc golf player, so I'm not gonna be walking through the water to go get my disc golf. I just got out of there.
And if there is an option to have disc golfers come, shovel and help grade the land to get it to the sewer or whatever there need be, I'm sure we could assemble.
Okay.
But every good golf course has water hazards.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
Lake Spindler.
We're just not gonna have any alligators.
Yeah.
Unlike golf.
Lots of ducks, though, lots of ducks.
Mr. Blum, have you looked at this from insurance point of view?
Yeah, really, the one for number 5 would be the only concern. But, yeah, I mean, the platform, I'd have to see it, but it sounds like that would resolve a lot of the issues.
With the bales around it?
Yeah.
Now, are folks are sponsoring each hole, it sounded like? Or,
So during the tournament, we raised enough money to purchase 3 baskets.
okay,
And then when it comes to tee pads, signage, things of that nature, we can go to like local bars or businesses and see if they can sponsor that hole. And maybe we can notate that on the T-pad where it would be, you'd have your signage and it would say like hole 1, the distance, maybe a directional map, and then sponsored by Fairway Bar, Mario's Meats,
Yeah.
something like that.
So, Mr. Lipinski, is Rare going to finance this?
The Recreation Authority offered to purchase the baskets and help with the installation of the T-pads, as well as with the installation of the baskets, along with the volunteers from their group. And I spoke with Mr. DeFelice from JJ Mish to make sure that they're involved with park maintenance, as well as Mary Van Haren. So, everybody's on board, in case there are any discrepancies with anything, that we can resolve that right there. But yes, the Recreation Authority would help purchase the baskets and finance this project.
Okay. I think we should get the word out there about sponsorship, because actually I just posted a couple pictures when I was up there, and you guys were doing, I took a couple pictures of you guys playing, and just posted it, and 2 people offered to like sponsor a hole, and I don't even think I mentioned that in my post. So I can forward their info to you, but I think we might as well try that instead of spending your dollars, Tony.
So it would seem that tonight what you're asking for is the approval of council to install the disc golf course at the park.
Correct. The baskets have not been purchased yet. We want to make sure that we have council's approval prior to purchasing baskets and getting this project rolling.
And then so wouldn't the cost is yours and not the city's then?
Correct.
Okay.
So you just need a motion from us to approve the installation.
All right, I'll make that motion. A motion to approve the installation of the Recreational Authority of Roseville and Eastpointe of a disc golf course at Spindler Park in accordance with the recommended site plan.
Support.
Now, I thought we were actually gonna give us a plan to where we can come out and see it before I say yes. So how does that work?
Oh,
You can still go out and see it.
But what if I wanna change something, then we already approved it?
We could still change it.
Is that okay?
With the portable baskets up, we want to, we could get these ordered. They could put a layout with the portable baskets, try to get that done prior to the baskets being installed. That way, if there's any changes that need to be made, those are made ahead of time before anything's installed.
all right.
And like Mr. Nellis said, there's a few baskets, we could put sleeves in the ground to make them removable and alter the course in that respect.
All right, well, I'll modify my motion contingent upon a walkthrough.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even need that. I already
I
walked
don't
it.
need that.
Well,
So it's up to you guys.
I would like a walkthrough. I mean, any city, they always put something out first to check all the safety and all the other stuff. And so I would like to do that, so
well, it
wouldn't hurt.
But
I
this
just
is
meant if
actually-
someone wants to. I mean,
I
you
mean, I
don't have
will.
to then.
No, that's fine, yeah, because I already walked it, so.
I mean, I will. I don't have a problem with that.
Would be good to see it staked out.
But this is actually a rare thing, so we're just approving the installation of it.
Well, I think we can
Right, we're
still
allowing them
approve the
to-
installation, and we can still go out there and do the walkthrough after we approve this.
Yeah.
I'd just like to note, so Bryce Park has been in since 2009, and there was an issue that came to light, I think, within last year, to where there was a basket moved. And so that, it's not uncommon to change layouts. Some places have an A-B layout where they change it for the seasons. And
Yeah.
I think Bryce is in actual motion now where they're gonna do 18 instead of 24. They might change it up again.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I mean, safe. I mean,
Yeah.
looking at it and actually going out there, 2 different things, so I would like to do
And
both.
if things arise in the future too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're just looking for the approval now, so we
Okay.
get the, purchase the baskets going. Takes several weeks for them to come in. The layout can be discussed at that time, or in between there. So then, once that's finalized, we can move forward with the project, so residents can enjoy the disc golf during the summer, as well as into the fall.
Okay.
So
I
my
have-
question to you is, since this is being financed by Rare, has Rare Board approved this?
Yeah, and then basically they have, and that's why it's here.
Okay.
I have a question. When do you think you'd be able to go out there to set up for us to do the walkthrough?
Whenever you guys have the time to be able to walk together, yeah.
Well, I was thinking
We'll
we
make it
gotta,
happen.
since we gotta do that tour, did y'all want to do it on the same day? Yeah, we're
No.
doing.
June 15th?
June 1st?
We had to
No,
change it
June
to a
1st.
date because Monique can't be there.
Yeah, I'll be out of town.
Well, have we set a date then?
Did we?
We don't have another date.
Oh, I thought it was June 1, yeah.
It
So-
was
I thought it was
June,
June 1, too.
it's June 1 except for Monique.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then whatever date that is, I guess we'll just,
Well, yeah, I mean, we can do it then, or
Communicate.
if they want to do it on a different random Saturday. I mean, I don't think it's necessary that it's the same day as our tour.
Why don't you just come up with a date and those of us that can be available, we'll come over there
Yeah.
Yes.
and walk it.
it's a good idea.
Weekend better?
Weekend
Sure.
is always better.
Weekend, yeah.
Maybe we'll just figure out a Saturday.
All right.
Cool.
Okay.
Support?
We have a motion and support. We haven't
We have a motion
voted.
and support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kind of fun, actually.
Item G is a discussion on the water shut-off policy. Mr. Bloom?
It's the wrong button. Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. I was actually going to bring this up during the budget discussion and then went brain dead at 10 o'clock when we started talking water sewer. The water shutoff policy, I would like to recommend that we rescind it. What has been happening is, well, even back in 2011, when we looked at implementing it, we had determined that the cost of going through the whole process, getting to the point of shutting people off, and then going out and turning them back on, the cost at that time was $212. We had recommended a $225 fee to do it. Council thought that was a little steep and made it $100. It has subsequently been increased to $125. But effectively, every shut off and turn on we do, we lose money on. So we have a lot of effort from the members at 10 Mile. There's a lot of effort here at City Hall with clerical staff, both in the tracking and sending notices out, taking the phone calls. In addition to that, when we actually get to the point of shutting people off, the verbal abuse that the staff takes is ridiculous. And this was not a policy that in 2011 I had been recommending. My recommendation was to roll it on taxes twice a year. That was adopted as well as the shut-off policy. So at this point, I'm just asking council to consider rescinding that policy and going back to just leaving it as roll it on taxes twice a year. Don't shut people off, and it will save a lot of time and heartache within the city for both residents and employees. And that's just throwing it out there for discussion.
So I remember that when this was first set up, we had like $2.8 million in unpaid water bills. Since that time, we're running much lower, like 1 point.
It's actually about the same dollar amount. We're just doing it in two parcels. So, and the rates have increased over time, granted. So, 3 million delinquent now under this rate compared to 3 million delinquent in the past. The biggest issue, though, was we were only doing it once a year, so it would build up and you'd have a 12-month delinquency being rolled on. And it became a cash flow issue at that time. By putting it on taxes twice a year, both the summer and the winter, it kind of takes care of that cash flow problem. And it really, I guess I'd rather have the folks at 10 Mile doing constructive work than turning people off and running around turning them back on the next day after they come in and pay. So,
When we enacted this, my understanding is it might have been on the recommendation from Plant Moran or auditors because
Plant
of the
Moran
cash.
for 3 years in a row was concerned because we were only filing it once a year, and the amount was really creeping up there. And at the time, we really needed the funds to be more accessible. So,
Yep.
so we did this, but I think over the time, a lot of things have changed considerably.
I was just curious if, when we go into audit again, if they would have a recommendation on,
Because we're doing it twice a year now, they would not have an issue. In fact, we're the only community in southeast Michigan that both rolls it on taxes and does water shutoffs. All other communities do one or the other, but not both. So we're unique again, so.
I think I understand it all. I mean, I appreciate all the information, but besides, I mean, I think if your water was shut off, you'd be angry too. So characterizing the residents as yelling at us is
Well,
understandable.
come in on water shut-off day and hang out with the cashiers. You'll get a different perspective of what it's like.
I understand, but
And I think we don't always get the truth behind the water shutoffs, and their stories are not always the absolute truth.
sure we can still treat the residents with respect, though.
We still treat them with respect. But this may be the end of some of those problems, because it's just not really fair for the water departments, both the DPW as well, is to take all the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I actually talked to Carol Apley, the people from DPW, and, you know, it's a little bit of both what Mr. DeMonico said and Mr. Blum said, because when you're going out and you're turning people water off, it can be very dangerous when you're turning someone's, you know, source of living is what, food, water, and things like that. And so they have came across people that probably can get violent and things like that. So I did offer them mental health training and things like that. So, and then they say sometimes those people shut the water back on too. And that was a concern to me, that people, of course, people know how to shut things on and off. Mr. Blum, I know you was talking about $200 and something. Why did you want to increase it? Was that one of the reasons you want to increase it? Because once somebody turn the water off, you got to send someone back out to turn it off again?
Right. I mean, you have all the clerical effort just building up to the point of getting to the shut-off, where you have to track accounts every month, see who's delinquent, figure out what their half payment is. That's days of effort every month going into that. Then you have to track it once the notice goes out, because you have now 30 days to only pay half of the amount to avoid shut-off. So then you got to go back to everybody you sent the notice to, see who paid, who didn't, track it as you go, and then you end up with a shut-off list. We send about, I want to say 500 notices out every month. We take the top 500 water accounts in delinquent amounts, send the notices out. They have 30 days to pay 50% of that amount. Then you have to go back and track all 500 to see who paid and who didn't. And we usually end up with a list of somewhere between 80 and 100 that you actually have to go do the shut-offs. So then you have to schedule with 10 Mile to do the turn-offs, and then people have to come in and pay. And now it's not just the half, now they owe everything because they missed the 30-day window to make the half payment. That's where a lot of the anger comes from, is when they could have paid in 30 days, you know, $80, now they owe $300. And it's like, well, the deadlines are there for a reason. But even then, so you do the shut-off, they come in and pay. Well, the turn-ons can't happen until the next day, because the scheduling goes out every morning at 7 a.m. for, here's all the turn-ons for the day. And they're already out doing the turn-on, so you walk in that day, you don't get immediate turn-on. You have to wait till the next day. If there's time available, you're basically waiting for the next available time slot. And we've had some people that they pay and they still are, 2-3 days later, just because they're at the end of coming in to make their payment. And all the slots have been filled up. There's only so many staff members that can go out and do the work.
Now, do you have a lot of instances when people actually turn their water back on?
Illegally?
Illegally, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Now, how do we charge them extra when we have to go back out? Where is a policy in there?
Yes, there is a $250 penalty for an illegal turn-on, which also has to be paid for us to go turn it back on for them. So it gets pretty pricey when you try to skirt the system.
Yeah.
So are you looking for some kind of motion from us?
Now would be the perfect time. Everything that's not paid by May 21st will roll on to taxes as delinquent. So we don't do shut-offs during the month of May anyways. And then June, everybody starts fresh. And so this would be the perfect time. If we're going to stop it, now would be the time to do it.
So if we don't do shut-offs, we don't have any shut-off fees then anymore, correct?
Correct. But we also don't have the expense of doing the shut-offs. It'll be transferred to other activities.
How much money are we losing from that?
Well, when we started the shut-off policy, we were getting about $600,000 a year in penalties and interest on the water accounts. Now that we've moved to the shut-off process, the penalties and interest dropped about $300,000, basically cut in half. Now, we do make some of that up in the shut-off fees, but we don't see all of the, we don't see an equal amount of revenues coming in while we have the extra expense to do the work. So,
I think I'd like to think about this a little more, not vote on anything today, though.
Yeah, me too. What do you guys think?
Would you like to table it and put it on the next agenda?
I think that sounds good, with maybe a couple of recommended motions at that time, too.
Well, yeah. Are you just asking for just a total rescission of that policy?
correct.
Okay.
But we want to keep it so it still goes on twice a year on the taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Once, so.
Yeah. Is that in the policy?
No, we
I
don't
just
have a
look at the
motion,
shut-off
recommend a motion.
Pardon me?
How about if we table it to the next meeting,
Oh, yeah.
and then we can have a
That would still
recommended
work.
motion?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to table this matter until the meeting on June 5th.
Support.
Move to support it. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes. All right, the next item is the discussion of the GFL contract extension. Mr. Kleinfeld, you were the one that wanted to discuss this, I think?
Yeah, I know that last week, all of us received the notice that was sent to GFL expressing the desire to extend the contract. After thinking about this over the last week, I think what would be a wise idea is to seek a letter of understanding signed by both GFL and the city, basically clarifying that the extension, the intent of the parties would be to treat the extension as if it were properly executed in accordance with our ordinances, and that GFL was notified in a timely manner, just to make sure that there's no legal uncertainties regarding this contract going forward.
I would support that.
And I think I emailed Rich the question about it. It seemed like it'd be pretty straightforward to speak to GFL's counsel and see what we could.
I have the email right here.
Didn't you mention doing a public hearing for it also beforehand?
That was another, I wasn't sure, Mr. Albright, if you had an opinion on that, if this could probably be ready, I believe, by June 5th, if we should also schedule a public hearing, just to tick off all the requirements from the charter and ordinances.
I would advise that.
Okay. So you want to make a motion to schedule that on June 5th as well?
Yes. Madam Mayor, I will make a motion to schedule a public hearing on June 5th regarding the extension of the GFL contract and direct the administration to send out the appropriate notices.
Support?
So I had one more question, though, which I probably mentioned when we had GFL at our meeting. And Rich, I don't know if you determined this. You know, I mentioned that I thought we should go out to bid, and then we were saying maybe that nullifies the 5-year renewal, and then GFL could put a higher bid in. I was wondering, can we go out to bid and then still accept the 5-year extension? I'd assume if anyone bids, they know what the prices are. It's a, it's a public contract, so no one will probably put a bid in unless they know they can beat the renewal, but, just with the extenuating circumstances of the company, I just thought that would be a, wise idea, like I said at the meeting when we had GFL.
But the contract's already been in place.
Right, which is also a whole problem. We didn't follow our ordinances, or the
Correct.
charter, I should say, actually. We didn't follow the charter,
Correct.
right?
But it
So,
wasn't the council that was involved.
Yeah, I did provide a legal opinion to Councilmember Kleinfeld over the weekend. I would prefer to speak on that particular issue in closed session. I can do so this evening. We can just add it as an item for attorney-client privilege communication, if the council deems that necessary.
I would appreciate that.
That's fine.
All right, let's move on to payroll and bills, please.
Oh, are we, do we need a vote on a public hearing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we already made the,
The motion?
We have a motion and second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
yes.
All right, let's go on to payroll and bills.
Madam Mayor, I will make motion to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $2,205,920.29.
Support.
Move in support. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
We'll move on to the second hearing of the public. Does anyone wish to be heard? Mr. Creech?
Sarah.
Madam Mayor, Council, talking about GFL, I know I've had a couple incidents with them, and maybe today was one of the best ones I've seen. I know we have a policy that, when we put our yard refuse, we put out in bags, but people who just have the regular plastic trash cans, well, it's been raining for 2 or 3 days, and somebody who cuts their grass, and you just put it in a regular refuge can, and when they go pour it in the truck, well, there's half of the grass is left in the garbage can. I watched this gentleman across the street today come down to pick it up, picks up the can, puts it in the back of the truck. It didn't come out. Instead of him hitting it again, put it back out in the street, turned it upside down, smashed it, all kinds of grass all over the street. The gentleman went on down on the road. And I had the other incidents. I say with that one gentleman, he was picking up on both sides of the street instead of just one. And I just about hit him, and he called me everything but a white person. Some of these situations have to be taken care of, in circumstances like that. I made the one complaint. But when I was here last week, I discussed the same thing. Right now, the way we're cutting grass, and there's more grass in the street than there is in the yard. I noticed that today, too. It's going in our sewers. We've got to do something about this. And they're not helping us any. They take that, he just took the can, he turned it right upside down. He could have just left it alone, put it right back the way it was if he didn't want to, hit it in the truck again. So some of these things are going to have to be discussed with GFL. I don't know how you can present it to them. All they do is they sign a contract and they hire people to do this. But then again, too, it just seems to me that nobody watches them. And I've discussed this with you before, too. Checks and balances sometimes don't go too far. And I say, getting back to the streets, and especially the sweeper, it's not a one-shot deal. We need our streets. We haven't had them swept in so long. We're going to have to keep up after this because I said we're just destroying what little bit of sewage we've got left. And thank you, Mike. I'm glad you, as I said before too, on this. We've had a few department heads before too that weren't exactly doing the job maybe they should have been doing. So keep on top of this. I understand you signed a contract and the rest of this stuff too, but all these wrongs don't make it right. And I'm glad I can see a lot of head shaking this time. We're getting on the right page, going in the right direction. Please, let's stay there. And I said with GFL and a few of and especially our contractors, if the gentleman's cutting the grass and the rest of the stuff, please, and if you possibly can, on the next time the water bill comes out, put in there for the public. Sweep the street a little bit, it wouldn't hurt nothing, and keep the grass in a bag And I don't know how you can tell the people if they can put it in a bag and not put it in that plastic container, because once it gets wet, you know, I mean, these guys, they throw that garbage. And if it hits the truck, fine. Well, if it doesn't, you people know where it goes because you got to look in your streets. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Creech. Anyone wish to be heard? Sir.
My name's Steve Sellers. I'm the president of the East Detroit Police Officers Association. Thomas Strowski, who's the president of the Command Officers Association, is here as well. Joe Zangara, the president of the fire union, is working. Madam Mayor, members of council, you should have been in receipt of an email from Joe Zangara regarding an item you're going to be discussing later this evening. I'm really here not to discuss that, but to discuss the impact that these types of things happen on our ability to not only obtain, but to retain the officers that we're able to hire. Currently, we don't have an active list. That's in the process of being done. And it's going to take several months to even do that before we can even get someone here and train them. So we wouldn't be looking toward the end of the year before we'd have an officer, if they could pass successfully, to be solo patrol on the road. Back in 2008, 2009, we had about 43 patrolmen, and currently we're budgeted for 28. I believe we asked for 29, but that's already been rescinded. Warren's currently fast tracking because every department in Michigan is having a hard time finding good quality candidates to be police officers these days. I won't get into all the issues why that is, but Warren currently is trying to fast track and hire officers, and I believe they got like 60 or something candidates. 6 of our officers have applied, and they're going to be looking at different things that they can offer. Obviously, they can offer more specialty units than we can offer, but different things like healthcare, pension, and things like that. They look to see where they can get the best bang for their buck, and some of these officers are going to decide, and these are good quality young officers that we like to retain. So just wanted to make you aware of those types of things, so you can think about that when you make your decision later on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Zellers. Does anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Does anyone else wish to be heard? Ma'am? As soon as the meeting is over, you can come forward, and we'd love to sign those papers. Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. Move on to mayor and council reports. Let's start with Mr. DeMonico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, we've got a new commission now, the Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission. So if anyone is interested in the arts or in culture, we have a new commission for you. Just add a line on our current board and commission application for that, and check that off, and then fill it in and turn it in. Hopefully soon we'll have something online that you can just fill out and submit to, but that is exciting. And second, went to a town hall, they called it, Narcan Town Hall at Emmanuel United Methodist Church, and you were able to do a training there and then take Narcan home. So the opioid crisis, as you all know, is huge in this country, especially in our nearby neighborhood in Macomb County. If you see any of these, do them and do the training and take some home with you just in case you have someone that you know that might be addicted, or a friend of a friend or anything. Maybe you'll be able to save a life then. These organizations are getting funds for it. I didn't have to pay anything. You just do the training, and then you take some home. Second then, the fire department had their bowling fundraiser again this year. It raised money for the Great Lakes Burn Camp, and it was a good time. They had all kinds of stuff you could raffle off, and if you got a chance and you like bowling, definitely do it next year. I think they'll probably do it about the same time again. And they also did a blood drive then on election day, and I was supposed to give blood, but I didn't even go to work. I didn't feel good that day, so next time. I'm sure they got lots of blood, and so look out for that too next time they do that, if you can give blood. Red Cross calls me right away. I got O negative, so they really want my blood. And On Election Day, the Macomb Community College's millage passed, if you did not see. Barely passed, but it did get through. And the high school had an art show also, was that yesterday? The students, 9 through 12, all showed off their art there, and it was great. It was really, really good stuff. And maybe they can be future commission members of our commission. And everyone go out. May 28th will be the Memorial Day Parade, 11 a.m. start time. So come on out, and that'll be a good time. And I think that's all I had, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Monique.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody who came out with their concerns, and of course Rare with that great idea. And also I was actually with Mr. DeMonico at the Narcan training. That was really awesome. You know, you hear about lives being taken, but to be able to know how to save one is amazing. And so, like you said, it was free, and we were able to take some home. So a lot of the community came out. And I actually have a couple things. I've been getting out a little bit lately. Well, actually today it was 2 new businesses that I attended their grand opening. Sal's Auto Parts on 9 Mile Road. I was so happy to see them. I told them to be part of the Gratiot crew since they deal with cars, autos, and told them about the Chamber of Commerce and welcomed them to the city of Eastpointe. I also went to the Betty Larkins Cancer Awareness. That's on Gratiot Road. That is done by Shaniva. She's on the school board of Eastpointe Community Schools, so you can learn about larynx cancer and things and how to be aware of that. So I went to that grand opening, took some pictures and things like that. So just welcoming new businesses to the city of Eastpointe. And of course, I'm going to put it on my Facebook page to let other surrounding cities or people who have new upcoming businesses to bring them to Eastpointe. Again, I have started a 4-H program, so I'm looking for some young people I see in the audience, hint, 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 to be mentors and help me run this program so it can be a better thing. If a lot of people who don't know about 4-H program, I have some pamphlets out there on the table. It helps to enrich kids about life learning skills. We don't tell kids how to do things. Actually, we work with them in accomplishing goals. Also, a PACE meeting is May 22nd. And they already talked about the DPW waste, so they got that out the way. And you guys know I'm on the library commission, so that's one of my favorite things. And the lady who does the youth services, the librarian, Abby Bond. I went today and they told me to announce this, so I said I would. She is on the Detroit Curling Club. If anybody that knows what that is, I didn't, so. The team won the United States Central Division. They were undefeated, so they beat Columbus, Ohio, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and Midland. So we were, top of that. So Eastpointe is, doing some amazing things in different areas. And so I think that's it. Oh, okay, I got 2 more things, and I'm gonna let y'all get out of here. And if you have a lost one, or somebody that lost someone, the Eastpointe Library also has, to help you grieve. They have a group that meets there to help, if you're grieving with somebody or somebody that lost a loved one. So we do those things at the library. And also the police is hiring a service aide. I was able to find that out. So if you need a part-time job and you love law enforcement, and, like the police officer was saying, you got to love law enforcement. Now, I was in law enforcement for 11 years, and it is essential to outdo other cities sometimes, or at least, be competitive, because working in Detroit, we got pretty much the lowest pay than the suburban cities, but I love what I did. And so sometimes the cost, when you out there on the street and you got your life on the line and you're trying to take care of your family, and you're dealing with a whole bunch. So sometimes a little bit of pay and being able to take care of your family just in case something happens is important to us. So I get it. And as council, we're doing our best to do, be more competitive. If you go to our budget meeting, you see we're trying to hire a community police officer and do a competitive rate. So we are doing our best to compete with other cities, but it's a low rate wherever you go in the country. It's hard to find good police officers that really want to do the job. So if you in it for the money, you might as well not be a police officer anyway. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. Lucido.
First, I hope to see everyone out at the Memorial Day Parade. It runs from City Hall to Kennedy Park. It's a great event for the family. Bring the kids. They always get a ton of candy. They always have a great time. Also, they will be doing a Veterans Day breakfast at the Oddfellows Hall that morning. It's free to all veterans, so if you know anyone, they're going to be more than welcome to go there. And then also, just to remind everyone that tomorrow at Pleasant View is the 8K Homeowners Association meeting, and that is at 7 p.m. They are always looking for new residents to come out and join them. So it's a really great group. They always have good speakers that come in. People from the county come, they talk. I mean, it's really a good way to stay updated on what's going on in the city and even on a county level. So hopefully everyone will make it out to that tomorrow also. And that's it for this evening.
Okay. Mr. Kleinfeld.
I don't have anything.
Well, I don't have anything either because I've been recovering from this total knee. So, but I appreciate you going to the Narcan training. We set that up, and I think it turned out really well. They had a significant number of people, and that followed up on the information that was given at the previous meeting, which was on the opioid crisis and how it affects families. So
Yeah, they talked about that.
I thought it was a really good activity for the Eastpointe Coalition to put together in such a short time. The pancake breakfast is, like Sarah said, is reserved for, it's not reserved, it's free for all veterans in the morning. But it's always a great event just before the walk down the streets with the Memorial Day Parade. Memorial Day Parade, I think, sounds really good. The Knights of Columbus have been working really hard on getting people to participate. We have a couple floats. We've got a bunch of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, blah, blah, blah. So it should be a lot of fun, and I entice everybody to try and come and to also stay for the community picnic afterwards. That's been a really good time. Open yard this week, don't forget that. It only happens once a year. Everybody can look in their garage and find something that needs to go out in the open yard. So just take it over to the DPW on a Saturday. The electronic recycle, I don't think there's a single person that can't go down in their basement and find an old computer or old cell phones or something that you could probably get rid of. This is a really trustworthy company, and the last time was the first time that we've done one here at the city, and we had a large number of people, so it's a good opportunity for you to clean out both the basement and the garage. And I guess that's all I have for today, and I would entertain a motion to go into closed session for 3 items.
All right, Madam Mayor, I'll motion to go into closed session for attorney-client privilege communication regarding the Department of Justice litigation, also for collective bargaining strategy pursuant to MCL 15.268C, and also attorney-client privilege communication regarding
Legal opinion.
legal opinion.
Support.
Move supported, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Kleinfeld?
Yes.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes.
Mayor Pixley?
Yes.
Councilmember Lucido?
Yes.
All right, closed session will start right at